Well, hello everyone and welcome to round number 3 of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. My name is Conry Maddock. I'm going to be taking you through the broadcast as your commentator for this evening. We've got 2 rounds already in the books. We've got 8 drivers already booked their places in the final. We'll get 4 more by the end of today. But before we dive in, let's have a little bit of a recap of what happened last time out at Aragon.
Got a grid, we've got some lights, we've got some engine notes, and we're about to go racing here at Aragon for the second race meeting of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. We're off the way down towards turn number 1, and it's a great start from Alex Moysen, who takes the race lead early on from Sinyan Guinea. Guinea's actually going to end up risking losing another spot here, because here comes Ville Crevi in the Mercedes green versus red as they head their way through the first sector. Maximilian Lorenz is behind this one, potentially in the Audi, to try and steal a couple positions away, although the Audi is super loose and loses a good couple of spots as a result. 3 wide through the left-hander, and someone's around. One of the Mercedes collects, or rather one of the Porsches collects a good couple of cars behind. That is not ideal whatsoever, and it's caused more 3 wide situations going on further back in the pack. Dimitrov immediately having to go defensive here down in towards turn number 1, but Lepau's showing no threats here at the moment. Going to try and get a little bit of a cutback coming off the corner, gain a little bit of excess speed, and maybe make a challenge of it. Coming through turn 2, and now to the inside through turn 3. They make contact, and there's a spinner ahead as well. Soren Jager has had big problems, and so Georgiev behind, also looking to try and get stuck in. There's the angle to the inside for Peter Daniel. It's, well, door left open. Door left completely open there for the Audi to try and work its way through. And Peter Daniel gets the position. E17. Oh, who's that? Oh, that's Maximilian Lorenz. Maximilian Lorenz off. One of your top 5 runners, and one of the Porsches has to take avoiding action. That's Lucas Vollering spinning out into the gravel trap on the outside there. Oh, and that's a mistake there from Neg, leaving the door open for Cernal as Cernal rubs the door, coming through the exit of the corner. Mercedes versus Porsche in through the right-hander now. Cernal's done well to hold it around the outside there, but he might just have lost a little bit too much ground to maintain the overlap. We've watched this one develop over the last couple of laps, and it might come to the head in the final one. And there we go. Down to the inside goes Ronald Sen, but that is a massive send. That didn't quite work. And sends the Swede further down the order. Behind Schubeck now. Might even lose the position to Dimitrov. Which they're on right now. Guinea closing in. Guinea gonna force himself down to the inside once again. Alpha P1 on your screens as Moysen tries to swing it around the outside to try and get the pass back. They're going to rub doors. Coming through the exit of the corner. Through the final corner they come. Drag race across the start-finish line. 0.06 of a second going the way of Alex Moysen here at the moment. He's not going to be clear down in towards turn number 1, and Guinea will have the inside, but his line is compromised coming off the corner. This is fantastic racing between the two of them. Moysen will have the speed and have the ground around the outside to try and maintain position, and he has. This is a fantastic fight between the Audi and the Mercedes. And there's a fight brewing behind as well as Guinea sends it down and in. Moysen will give him the space, and Guinea's been able to gain the race lead. Sinyan Guinea heads his way across the line to take the race win in race 1 here at Aragon for the second race meeting of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. A couple of unresolved battles further down the field. Steph Kramer's ahead into P8. Immediate defense there from Mihai Neg, wanting to cover off that inside in towards turn number 1, and has done so pretty successfully. But the problem is not allowing that driver sneak back underneath through the next sequence of corners. Straight back into a 3-wide situation with Alex Moysen and Roland Sen. And now is Sinyan Guinea on the back of these guys, and that is the last thing these guys would have wanted to hear. Sinyan Guinea, he has a spin coming off the corner, and there was an impact with the barrier there with the rear end as well. Might be damage to our race 1 winner. That really changes things up now, especially in terms of the top 4 in terms of points. As Cernal, oh, he loses the back end and sends it into the Armco. An unforced error from the German. And that Porsche is not as it rolled off the showroom floor. Well, a little bit less possible. Schubeck's going to show the nose regardless, and well, it's more than show the nose. He's going to dive it straight in and try and follow through on the tyre tracks of Guine, and he's done that rather well, hasn't he? Great stuff from Schubeck. That's going to happen as you see Maximilian Lorenz head his way out to the final corner to take the race 2 win here at Aragon for the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup.
Well, that was a little look there at how things turned out in round number 2 at Aragon. Of course, we had 4 drivers promote themselves up into the final from that race alone, joining the 4 drivers that we already had from our very first race of the season. Of course, involved in that going through from the previous rounds will be the names of Alex Moysen, Maximilian Lorenz, Mihai Neg, Sinyan Guine. They're all through. Currently on your screen, you have the championship standings of those that haven't qualified just yet. So Steph Kramer's, Villa Crevi currently in the driving seat in terms of that one here at the moment. But of course, that could all very much change in the next couple of, next hour, I guess, as the situation may be. Of course, those promoting themselves from the first race of the season, Uvar Rusin, Ilya Drofosikov, Colin Brackenberg, and Luciano Vitvo, they all got themselves booked a slot in the final at the very end of the season. Top 16 of those who don't automatically qualify by being top 4 will also book themselves a slot in the finale at the Nürburgring as well. That's where all the points get reset as well, so the winner in our final round of the season will be the winner of the championship, no matter what has happened over these qualifying rounds. That's one of the unique things about this championship. Of course, we've had our races here at Spa-Francorchamps already. We've had Smokeland Aragon. That was the previous race, the previous highlights that you saw. This time out, we're heading to Dubai, though. Dubai Autodrome is going to be next up for these drivers. And then in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be heading to the Hungaroring for our next race, and our penultimate race of the season. The last chance for these drivers to qualify themselves into the finale at the Nordschleife. So for those that haven't got it done already, that's a lot of pressure on just those 2 races there at the Hungaroring right at the very end of the season. Let's jump on straight into qualifying then. Drivers have gotten themselves out there and are starting to set the pace in terms of their qualifying order for this particular first race. Of course, just to recap for everyone that may not be familiar, may not have watched the previous races of this season, we'll have this qualifying session which sets the grid for race 1. Race 1, 20 minutes long, just a normal race. Then we head into race 2. We will not have a qualifying for race 2. Race 2 will be based on a reverse grid from 10 positions from race number 1. So that's the situation that you have to be thinking about here, heading into race number 2, because you have that reverse grid to have to deal with. So that is a very interesting situation. Of course, drivers, they're either a fan of a reverse grid or not a fan of a reverse grid, depending on where they actually finish in the previous race. Let me tell you that. Of course, there's a big advantage starting towards the very front of the order, even if you may not be on the pace in terms of clear air lap times compared to those who tend to qualify at the front. If you can break away and maybe a little bit of chaos happens behind you, then maybe you might be on for a very good finish indeed. But we've got ourselves our first handful of lap times being set here in this qualifying session at Dubai Autodrome. We've got Marius Zabde in the Porsche, currently provisional pole position, the only driver in the 156s actually. He's about 0.2 of a second faster than Cody Nikola Latovsky there in second place in the AMG Mercedes. Vili Crevi, of course, he's the top of the drivers in terms of points that have not automatically qualified themselves into the finale here in the NGK Spark Plugs Esports Cup. So I don't think he necessarily has anything to worry about. I mean, he can also not finish top 4 for the next 2 rounds in terms of points, and still potentially get himself an entry into that race at the Nordschleife. But he's still turning up. He's still getting these races under his belt, getting that more experience in the back pocket. Of course, we've got Søren Jager there in 4th place here at the moment in qualifying as well. Into Philippau. We've seen Philippau before in this series, currently residing in 5th place there, the Frenchman. Of course, you look further down the order, you might see a couple of names that we haven't quite seen yet so far this season. We've got Rokas to be there, down in 17th place in the AMG Mercedes. You have Matteo Catalan in P19 at the moment. That's not a name I don't think I've seen that name before here in this series. Luca Vertrick, the Swiss driver, down in P21 at the moment after having not set a time just yet. So we'll have to wait and see what that time is going to be for him. But of course, you know, the qualifying procedure into this race is based on basically a time attack leaderboard that's happened in the week leading up to this one. To be able to decide well, who gets themselves qualified in terms of getting to the starting grid here for round number 3 of the NGK Spark Plugs Esports Cup. So that's how we decide who gets to take part in these races and who does not. And those are sometimes very, very competitive leaderboards, let me tell you that. Not a lot in it amongst the top handful of drivers in that one. So a lot of these guys, even though we may not have seen them before in terms of RaceRoom competition, still doing very, very well to get themselves a slot on this starting grid, no matter where they're going to be finishing today. Of course, we're live on the NGK Spark Plugs Europe YouTube channel. We're also live on the RaceRoom social media as well, both on the YouTube and on the Facebook. And of course, we are live on Traction GG as well. Hello to everyone on Traction GG. And I must apologise, I am feeling a little bit under the weather here at the moment. I caught a bit of a cold while I was at an esports event in Poland very, very recently. So we will have to get ourselves all struggled through this. Hopefully my voice doesn't give out by the end of this one. 2 minutes left to go here in qualifying. The provisional order hasn't really changed all that much. It's that Marius Zabda still provisional pole position and still the only driver in the 156s. He's a 156.9. This is compared to Leftovsky in 157.1, just rounding it up there. Seems like no one really in a position to challenge here just for the moment. You can see the purple Sector 1 time there from Enzo Philippau, only by just shy of a 10th of a second there, and a personal best Sector 2 for the Frenchman as well. So this is looking like a pretty neat lap for Enzo Philippau, as he's well on his way now through Sector 3 to try and get himself up near those top couple of spots. His previous lap time was about half a second off a provisional pole position here for the moment, so maybe a little bit more time left out there for Philippau as he heads his way out of the final corner. Coming up towards the start-finish line now. What's the time going to be for Enzo Philippau? It's not going to be an improvement in terms of position, unfortunately. It was an improvement in terms of time by about half a tenth of a second, but it was not an improvement in terms of position. You can see Marius Zabda there really putting in a very good effort. He's only 11 hundredths of a second behind Ville Crevi. Not all that much to separate the Mercedes and indeed the Porsche at this stage. We've got 52 seconds left in qualifying. Remember, the qualifying sessions here in RaceRoom can be a little bit deceiving because, well, we don't necessarily get yourself the opportunity to complete the lap. If you're towards the end of the lap, yes. If you're not, then you might end up not getting the lap time set. But Lucas Schubeck's going to take the tow back to the pit lane there, so he won't be able to complete the lap. Lucas to beat, he heads his way across the line here as well. Not all that many runners out there to improve their times here late on in the session, but we can say though that it is Ville Crevi that takes pole position with Marius Zabda in second place, with Cody Latowski in P3, Søren Jager in P4, with Enzo Philippau P5, and a late change. I said it might happen. Lucas Riedel up into 6th place with Lucas Schubeck in 7th. There was another late change as well, and It's a significant late change as we scroll out of its view. Latovsky at the very last moment was able to get himself onto pole position. So there we go. Massive effort at such a late stage for Latovsky. Grabs in pole position. It shuffles Villicravey down into P2. Marius Zabda will now start in P3 instead. So a very, very late change indeed in terms of the qualifying order for this first race of the third race meeting of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see them drive to the line, but that might be that's just the situation sometimes here. And drivers will now slowly but surely be taking themselves to the starting grids. We'll have to wait a couple of moments for them to do so before we go racing here at the Dubai Autodrome. Charging our way down into the right-hander at turn number 1. And then we tiptoe our way through 2, 3, 4, 5, and then into perhaps the first significant corner of turn 6, then into 7. But drivers getting themselves all ready and all set now. It's Latovsky on pole position. Villicravey with a front row start as well. Zabda and Yaga behind. Let's see what happens then. First race here at Dubai Autodrome. Round 3 of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. We're off for the way, charging down towards turn number 1. Cravey might end up being challenged here for P1 immediately down in towards turn number 1. He has his, fellow Mercedes in tow, but he's also got the Porsche looking around the outside. Meanwhile, that Porsche, Zabda, has to be looking behind now because Latovsky is going to get absolutely swarmed here from P1 down to P3. That was a poor start from the Mercedes, and now, well, he's caved it all up and trying to charge on. Oh, we've got a crash at the back. Peter Daniel, Matteo Catalan, all tangled up and still making bits of contact as they try to recover there. Not sure what happened back there, unfortunately. We can't get replays here on this particular broadcast. Let's try and see exactly what happened there with that one. But the front of the field is off of the way cleanly as we see a little bit of signs of life in terms of the battles there for P5 as Jonas Riedel and Schubeck took slightly different lines through the corner as we head our way down the back straight now. This is the long run down in towards the hairpin at turn 10. Let's see if anyone goes for any absolute sends down into here. No one inside of the top 5, but we've got Sebastian Ria, Lucas Wollering going side by side through turn 10. Now flicking away through the left-hander at turn 11. The Mercedes has the advantage coming through here, but Ria is able to maintain the overlap in the Audi. There's been a bit of a problem ahead. Driver sent wide. Philippau dropping down the order. Lapanik as well. And look at the chain reaction from behind as drivers trying to swarm and capitalize on that entire situation. Everyone able to keep it pointed, going in the right direction though. Cyril and Sebastian Rie behind all of this as well. Going very wide there is Nico Cyril. Able to gather it up though, keep himself ahead of Sebastian Rie. Completing the first lap now, the order, Villicravey. P1, we've got Marius Zabda at P2 and our pole position sitter, Cody Latovsky, in P3 here as Zabda looks down the inside. That looks like a big show of the nose for the Porsche. No committal to the move though. And it allows Latovsky to just try and lock onto the back in the Mercedes. And make himself very, very big in Zabda's rear view. Remember, top 5 in points just from these 2 races, ignoring everything else that's gone before, will get yourself a slot at the Nordschleife for our finale. So, get yourself maybe 2 podium finishes, you're pretty much set, pretty much guaranteed. Easier said than done though. Down the back straight once again, we're right on board here with Latovsky as we see Marius Zabda and Villicravey go side by side for the race lead. Zabda wanting to prove position early on, trying to get that track position. Latovsky looking for a gap to potentially get involved. Cravey was a little bit loose on the inside there. Almost door-to-door contact with the Mercedes, with the Porsche on the inside there, but look at that. Zabda gets himself through to the race lead, and now Latovsky looks to strike on the Finnish driver. Angles it towards the inside there, keeps that overlap going. Kravy and Latovsky, the drivers going side by side here for the moment. Latovsky's the Mercedes on the inside. Yes, they have identical liveries. Yes, it's quite hard to tell sometimes what's going on. But Latovsky has been able to head his way through here. Is there any opportunity coming off the final corner here for Villa Kravy? Well, he has a little bit of a run. He has a little bit of momentum. This battle's not done just yet as Kravy looks to the inside in towards turn number 1. Battle for P2 on your screens. Soren Jager is in the red Mercedes behind. No overlap for Villa Kravy to work with. Still battles through turn 1 though. This is Lucas de Bie versus Rokas de Bie, excuse me, versus Lucas Vollering. De Bie is able to head his way through the Dutchman. Oh, and there's a bit of contact. Lucas Vollering slides and comes to a stop through sector 1. Has to spin that car back around. Got to be careful with the rejoin here as well, but thankfully he found a bit of circuits offline to rejoin in, and straight into a battle he goes with Christoph Nagy. Keeps himself ahead of the pack behind. Oh, it's a big slide, and a couple of drivers having problems. Nagy's around, and Marcel Holock as well in the Porsche. Having problems keeping it on the grey stuff. They were involved in a bit of a battle. And now they're shuffled all the way to the back of the order. We haven't had any retirements just yet, by the way. It's surprising considering how many spins we've seen. This is a battle at the very back of the order here between Christoph Nagy and Matteo Catalan. Nagy attempted to go around the outside once again, but the car just snaps on him and he loses a bit more ground. These are positions just inside of the top 10 here in this race. We've got 14 minutes left to go. 6 minutes gone already. 2 Audis here, Enzo Filipao, Nico Cernal are the ones that we're watching. You can see a little bit of snaking happening already down the pit straight, just well, it's not really that effective in terms of trying to make the slipstream. It's just a habit that drivers get into. Meanwhile, Cernal, big look, big show of the nose into turn 1, but turn 1 is not necessarily the best overtaking opportunity at this track, of course. You want to be looking more down in towards turn 10, that hairpin in the middle of the lap. Maybe an opportunity into turn 12, maybe 14 as well. But first sector, I would say, is probably the least opportunity to try and work yourself past. Closest on battle on track is this one now. Gillian Gurgitz and in the Porsche, and Mikael Lapanek in the Audi. Just a handful of tenths of a second separating them as they head their way down the back straight here. But no run for the Audi in behind to be able to try and get past. So this little battle just remains in its status quo situation here. Calming down a significant amount. Of course, we had a little bit of a hectic start with lots of side-by-sides, with drivers actually dropping towards the bottom of the order due to spins and contacts, but like I said, everyone's still running. No retirements here just yet. Marcel Holock is the last running driver, down in 25th place there. Let's have a look back towards the race lead. There's Mariusz Zabda, driver from Poland, trying to break away from the driver from Macedonia. All the way to the pit wall he goes, and he'll come all the way back to get the entry in towards turn 1. Latovsky keeping himself in the draft here as well. So important to be able to allow yourself to have that shot, to have that chance down in towards the hairpin. Oh, what has happened to Rokas de Bie? One of your top 10 runners, and a whack with the wall with the rear end as well as he tries to right himself. Now he's going to fall in behind Luca Vertrick. Down into P20 now. Zabda continuing to pull the gap here on second place. 0.7 of a second now as they head their way into the hairpin. Latovsky, despite the amazing lap at the very last moment of qualifying, doesn't seem to have the race pace to hold on to Marius Zabda here for the moment. At least at this stage of the race. Maybe if that Mercedes is a little bit better in the, towards the end of the race, position might come to him. But for now, it looks like Zabda is just that tenth and a half of a second a lap faster, even with the draft that Latovsky's getting off the rear of the Porsche ahead. See how much they're pushing as well with the track limits. Look at this little scrap in the back of the field. Georgiev, Vollering, Dimitrov as well, all involved in this one. Dimitrov has been able to get himself a little bit of an overlap here on Vollering. He's able to send it down the inside there through the final corner, and Vollering has to wash out into the runoff a little bit. Rejoin the circuit in behind. Maybe continue in the battle if he can. No such opportunity in towards turn number 1 though. Dimitrov having to take the shallower entry though, or at least preferring to take the shallower entry. Through the S's section here through sector 1. I don't think Vollering's quite done with this one. He's really hounding the rear bumper of that Audi ahead. Big wide arc being taken through these corners, and there's an error. There's a mistake from Dimitrov that Vollering might be able to capitalize on. Might not be fruitful until off this corner. Might have been a tiny bit of contact between the two there. Still no overlap though for Vollering to work with. He has the slipstream though coming down the back straight, excuse me, to maybe angle for a move down the inside into the hairpin. If he's brave on the brakes, that is. Not so on this particular lap. Gap has come down a little bit for the race leads. Less than half a second now, actually less than 0.4 of a second between Marius Zabda and Cody Latovsky. So maybe, oh, there's a spin! Villacrevi has had an unforced error from P3 from a podium finish in this race, and now he's going to drop outside of the top 10. We saw it at the very back of shot there. Absolutely no one around him, and he drops it. So if he had any hopes of automatically qualifying from this round, and well, that likelihood is so much lower now. Of course, he's still top in terms of the points that with drivers that have not automatically qualified. Well, that's simply something that you do not want to see. Completely unforced error there on Villacrevi's part. Leaves us with a 2-horse race at the front. Latovsky's putting in some really good effort here. He was very, very close coming off of turn 9 here. This might allow the opportunity down in towards the hairpin, but it seems like that Porsche has a lot of legs coming down the back straight there. Even with the draft, Latovsky couldn't at least show the nose to go down the inside there. The closing speed wasn't really that high. We'll have to see whether this is a pattern that repeats itself. But Latovsky has a lot of time to try and figure out how to make this one work. 6.5 minutes left to go. No pressure whatsoever from P3 in behind. That's Soren Jager, who has to be slightly more worried about Schubeck and Riedel behind him. Side by side for P10 though, this is Roland Sen versus Kilian Gidget, and well, Lapanek is going to try and follow through in the tyre tracks of the Mercedes on the of the Porsche, excuse me, on the inside. Little bit of a cutback move there from the Dutchman. Gets himself an overlap down the inside, through the right here of the final corner. Sen is going to be washed out there a little bit, not going to get as much momentum down the pit straight either. Here's the view from Lapanek in behind, just 0.2 of a second, but it's absolutely level between Sen and Gidget ahead. But late on the brakes goes Gidget. Does he get compromised coming off the corner here though? No. Great defense there from Roland Sen. Keeps himself in that 10th place, despite all of the pressure being piled onto his rear. We can check back in terms of the race lead as well, because that has not separated out whatsoever. And look at this. I think Latovsky is as close as ever. Might be able to make this move happen down into the hairpin. Zabda feels the need to go defensive. Latovsky around the outside with a big commitment, looking for a cutback off the corner, I think. Does he pick up the momentum through the exit? Not quite. Little bit of a snap through the just after the apex there. You can see Latovsky really trying to push that car, really desperate for this race win. They're both, well, 3.5, 4 seconds ahead of Soren Jager, so a lot of space, a lot of room to have this battle without any third parties getting themselves involved. And it seems like that Porsche was very, very good in the very early portions of this race, but the Mercedes at the back end of 20 minutes seems to have come alive. Latovsky's trying to drive it to the top step of the podium. Just shy of half a second between the two as they head their way across the line here. Of course, we have to keep track on what's going on behind as well, because there are other battles that have not quite concluded here just yet. Especially one for P5 that is, well, I mean, I guess you can make it for P3 here at the moment, because that little pack has caught Soren Jager. So changes might happen back here as well. Have to keep an eye on it, especially on the final lap with last-ditch attempts into the hairpin. Here we go. One more attempt, perhaps, from Latovsky. He's faster where it matters, it seems. Coming onto this back straight. Another little look around the outside, and he switches it to the inside. He sends it down and in. A surprise move from the Macedonian, but the pole has it defended. He has it covered. And another little slide there from Latovsky is not going to help the tyres if he wants to take this race win at the very end there. Latovsky tried something different compared to last lap, but it still has not worked. Meanwhile, Philip Cravey's trying to battle his way through the field. Oh, Lapanek. Lapanek has, well, had a problem, either with just himself or the driver there. Unfortunately, we can't do replays. And he's fallen back through the order, down into P19 now. The Audi driver. Not a lot of time left on the clock here. They're doing 1 minute 57s in terms of lap times at the very front of the field. So this will be 2 to go. Latovsky as close as ever. But Zabda's main concern, of course, is the run down into the braking zone of the hairpin. He's defended the move twice. Needs to defend it twice more. Latovsky's not really been all that close through the rest of the lap. Just towards the end of the back straight is where he has an opportunity. Right on board, looking back from Mario Zabda. Porsche versus Mercedes here at the end of race 1. And I don't know who to pick out of the two of them. Gap a little larger coming down the back straight this time around. So unless Latovsky wants to go for an almighty move here, this will remain Zabda, Latovsky in that order for at least another lap. You want to be careful though, because Zabda's also pushing at this stage to try and maintain the gap, but Latovsky still has more opportunities on the horizon to be able to grab a race win here in the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup and give himself a very good chance at automatically qualifying into the finale. Both of them are 5 seconds over Soranyaga, so no worries from behind. It's just a straight-out duel between these two to the very end of the race now. 30 seconds left on the clock. Winding their way through the final corner. Start of the final lap then. Zabda versus Latovsky, Porsche versus Mercedes, Poland versus Macedonia. No opportunity down in towards turn number 1 for Latovsky. He's been very, very good, though, in the couple of corners preceding the long back straight. So the very latter end of Sector 1, start of Sector 2, that's where Latovsky has been gaining a whole bunch of time to try and set up the move down in towards the hairpin. He's had 2 attempts already. Both of them defended quite admirably by Zabda. Close situations going on behind here, remember as well. Greece being challenged by Filipao for P6 out there. And there we go, Filipao has sent it down the inside and slots himself ahead. Great pass there from Enzo Filipao. He's not going to be quite done with it though. He has to go straight from offense to defense because the Porsche has a run on him now down the back straight. But is there an overlap? I don't think there is. Garise will make one down the inside, or at least attempt to, but is unsuccessful. Meanwhile, the battle at the front of the field, well, it's kind of fizzled out towards the back end of this race now. Latovsky, despite all of his efforts, seemingly unable to do anything about the Porsche, anything about Marius Zabda, and now the gap is over a second as Latovsky knows his fate. Marius Zabda now just has to keep it on the grey stuff through the final sector, and he can call himself a race winner in the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. A brilliant defense at the very end. The driver from Poland, it's Marius Zabda that heads his way across the line to take the race win here in race 1. Race meeting number 3 of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. Marius Zabda scores maximum here for the first race. Close run of things behind as well. Latovsky in second place. It was Schubeck actually at the very last moments that took P3. Something happened to Soranyaga. Slots himself down into P4. Everyone else heading their way across the line now. After a well-run race from a lot of them. What a defense it was from Marius Zabda. And look at that, the two of them side by side around the track together on the cooldown lap. I think they both, though, that was a very good fight indeed and a very close run between the two of them. I certainly enjoyed watching it. I hope you did at home too. You don't want to go away, though, because we do have another race. Another 20-minute event. There's the unofficial race results, of course, pending Steward's review. Marius Zabda takes the race win with Latovsky in second place, Schubeck in third, Jaga fourth, and Riedel in fifth place. Enzo Filipao in sixth with Greece in fifth, Cernil in eighth, Ree in ninth, and Gidget in P10. That will be our reverse grid, of course, the top 10. And you have those drivers that narrowly missed out on the reverse grid. Ville Cravey, after having a solo car incident inside the top 3, drops down to P11. Then you got Dimitrov, Volerik, Georgiev, and Zena rounding out the top 15. Everyone else cycling themselves through there. So what an exciting race that we had here at least for the first time asking here at the Dubai Autodrome. We've got another race coming at you very, very soon indeed, and then perhaps sooner than we think, because they are already slowly but surely get themselves on the starting grid here for this next race. We'll have to jump very quickly into the server because unfortunately we don't get ourselves automatically put into the next server here, so that's sometimes a little bit of a rush to get ourselves in there, but we will be doing that very, very shortly indeed, and we'll be able to bring you race number 2 here of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup, race meeting number 3 at the Dubai Autodrome. My name is Conry Maddock, and of course I'm your commentator for this evening. We are streaming on the NGK Esports, on the NGK Sparkplugs channels, and of course we're on RaceRoom and indeed Traction GG as well. We are in the second server with 30 seconds to spare. Of course, not a lot of time between these races to be able to, for the drivers to be able to reset themselves. They just get this minute of gridding before they're straight back into the action here. And there they are, all lined up already. Top 10 reverse grid means that Gijit's on pole position with Sebastian Ree on the front row as well. For the second time this evening, we're off and away racing in the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup at Dubai Autodrome. It looks like a good start from pole position for Kilian Gijit. He leads on the way down in towards turn number 1. Sebastian Ree on the defense immediately. Nico Cernel having to challenge P2 here down through turn number 1. Looks like Cernel's got it. P2 as there's a spin behind. Oh, there's a huge moment behind. Multiple drivers off. It was Philippe Howe from the top 3 spinning off first. But something happened back there to send a very large amount of drivers around. Vilek Kravy had a problem. It was Lutovsky as well. Lutovsky, top runner. One of the top runners from race 1. P2 finish. Unfortunately now, he's P23 after problems towards that portion of the field. Peter Daniels down there as well. Lucas Vollering also involved as well. So huge drama coming through the first sector of the first lap here in race 2. Now they're heading down into the hairpin for the first time. There's a look. There's a defense. Soren Jager, Jonas Riedel, Mercedes versus Porsche through that slow section. It's triggered a battle behind as well because Marius Zabda's looking to try to improve positions over Linus Garise. Zabda down the inside at the second hairpin and gets the position done. So Marius Zabda, he won race 1, started P10, now he's up to P6 already, and we haven't even gotten the first lap over and done with yet. Fantastic start from Marius Zabda. Battling going on ahead of him though, because it's Soren Jager and Jonas Riedel going wheel to wheel here. Riedel around the outside, at least attempting to through the penultimate corner. He's going to get bullied out of line here. Has to go around and through the brake marker boards as we get 3 wide through the final corner as your race 1 winner of Marius Zabda looks to try and get 2 for the price of 1 through the final corner, but it's not going to happen just yet, I don't think. There's still a chance down in towards turn number 1. There's still an overlap between Jager as well, but here comes Zabda down the middle of the 2 of them. Fantastic racing from the pole, and he gets them through sector 1. That's fantastic stuff from Zabda, and there's contact behind. Jager spins around and gets shuffled towards the bottom end of the top 10, now outside of the top 10. Straight into a battle with Sen, who takes the shortcut through the corner. He's going to get a bit of a slowdown as a result of that one. Matteo Catalan looking to try and capitalize as well. But what a move. What commitment for Marius Zabda. It took, what, a lap and a corner to gain a handful of positions there. To gain 6 positions up into P4. That is an awesome first lap from Zabda. And I wouldn't count him out for the double race win at this rate. Meanwhile, Georgiev completely butchering the hairpin there. Dimitriv is able to capitalize on that one quite handily indeed. Loose cars behind. That was Filippo Zena. A flash of the lights from Lapanik as well. Heading his way through, and now It's Soren Jager down the inside of Zenna. Zenna's able to defend that one though. What a hectic first couple of laps here. There are the race leaders. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that name. So sorry to everyone from the Netherlands for the way that I'm pronouncing the leader's name here for the moment. But out of the final corner he comes, 0.6 of a second back to Cernel. So it's a Porsche that leads. Well, it's a Porsche that won the previous race. Chased down by the Audi of Nico Cernel. Sneaking our way through the first sector. Still lots of close moments on the way through the middle of the pack. Problems towards the very back of the field, though. I think Matteo Catalan had a spin or some form of contact, and now he's gotten sent to the back of the running order. Lucas Vollering took the tow back to pit lane. He will be taking no further part in this race. Perhaps due to damage that's a bit too terminal. Meanwhile, Lucas de B, commitment down the inside of the Audi. The Audi might lose 2 positions here because Lapinick is looking to try and follow through in the tyre tracks. Powering around the outside and gets the position done. 2 positions lost in the space of 2 corners for Georgiev there. Of course, one of the beneficiaries of the reverse grid here today. Oh no! Oh, Zenna just completely drops it on the exit of the corner there. Sliding around a lot. Lots of drivers have been sliding around the lock here today. Believe it or not, these cars have traction control. You wouldn't have thought so with the amounts that drivers have been having problems. But as is the case here in RaceRoom, drivers do tend to turn the traction control down as much as they can feasibly get away with, because having it run at a high setting actually does lose you a decent amount of time. But that's the risk you run when you run it too low. Problems coming off the corner. It's the battle for P3. Marius Zabda. Who else but Marius Zabda here? All over the back of Sebastian Riedau. Winner of the first race. Started P10 here in race 2. Got 4 positions by the time we got to the first corner on the second lap. And now he's looking for one more to try and get himself on the 3rd step of the podium. And within sight of the leaders as well. That's the ridiculous thing. It's right on board with Marius Zabda. You can see that Sebastian Ree feels the need to go defensive immediately. Knows how quick, how menacing that Marius Zabda is, and side by side here, coming through turn 11. And by the time turn 12 arrives, Zabda has the position. A stellar drive, absolutely stellar drive so far from Zabda. And now he has to set his sights ahead at the 2 cars further down the road. Kilian Gidget and Nico Cernel. We've been very, very passive with each other so far, as there's a lot of commitment at the middle of the corner there from Cernel. Almost running into the back of the car ahead. Gets away with it though. Ooh, that was a poor drive at the final corner there for Gidget, so might not be under threat into turn 1 here, but felt the need to go all the way to the pit wall to try and stunt the run of Cernel. Battle in behind though, Sebastian Ree and Jonas Riedel. Riedel gets the position done. Switch back through the first sector though from the Porsche. Riedel trying to force his way back through, but having no success in doing so. Back through the field, you have Latovsky on the recovery drive. Latovsky down the inside here of Holok. And you wouldn't think that Latovsky is going to win this battle, but Holok's going to fight it anyway, as he is entitled to do. No matter if it's one of the top runners or someone of your level, fight with them. It's battle for position in the end. Latovsky gets disposed of Holok pretty quickly here. Coming up towards the halfway point of the race now. Latovsky having to angle to the inside slightly to keep the position defended. And oh, that's Georgiev pushing very, very wide. Is that a mistake or just attempting to let Latovsky through? I think it was a mistake, as Latovsky still being aggressive with it. And a flash of the lights in frustration from Georgiev behind. Shows his appreciation or lack thereof of the move. Alpha P4 developing as well, continuing to develop, because Sebastian Riem and Linus Riedel has not really left each other alone these last couple of laps. Gap for the race lead coming in slightly as well. Might materialize into a bit of a battle once again. Now on the pit straight they go. Cernal's going to have a bit of a run here down in towards turn number 1 for the race lead. Taking the big wide arc through will gain him a little bit of momentum on the exit, but with these switchbacks through sector 1, it's hard to make anything of that. And Geertz gets himself ahead for now. Zabda on the back of this one as well. Differing lines being taken through. Turn 7 there as well. Now in towards turn 8. In towards turn number 9. There's the move around the outside. Oh, he's overcommitted as Cernal. Completely overcommitted. And gives a very easy position to Marius Zabda. Not sure where the logic was there, I'm afraid, to go around the outside at turn 9. Maybe outbroke himself a little bit. Has lost a significant amount of time now, 1.5 seconds behind Marius Zabda, out of drafting range. And leaves us at this 1v1 at the very front of the field. Zabda looking for the double race win here at Dubai Autodrome in the 3rd race meeting of the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. Will he get it? Well, I think it's pretty likely. Especially with 8 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. A little bit of a shot to the back bumper as well. A little bit of aggression coming out here from Zabda. Not sure if it's really warranted, but there we go. Just a handful of tenths of a second between them now. The 2 Porsches leading the way. A little bit of armada behind. Linus Garise and Yaroslav Dimitrov are very, very close indeed here coming down the pit straight. And a look to the inside from the Audi. Just a look, nothing more. A little overcommitment there through the exit of the corner for Garise. Will lose him a little bit of time and lose him a little bit of momentum through that first sector. These positions for major points, of course. Even if you might not qualify yourself as one of the top 4 points finishers from just these 2 races, you still have that chance of qualifying in through the best of the rest, top 16, I'll call it. Race lead still stands at about 0.3 of a second between Geertz and Zabda. A little bit closer in this particular battle behind, though. Oh, someone's had a problem. Trying to pick up which the car is. Oh, it's Zabda. Zabda's had a problem. Oh no, what was that? In towards the hairpin. For someone that's been so flawless for the entirety of the first race and the majority of this one, Zabda has found himself in a bit of trouble and is now being chased down by the likes of Apanik and Rokas to be. It allows Gietz to gain a 1.5 second advantage in terms of race lead. This is where I would really love to do a replay, but unfortunately I can't, to try and find out what happens. Zabda now, I don't think he has any damage. We'll get a little bit of a closer look as he heads his way down in towards turn number 1 here. That'll give us a little bit of a better idea as to whether that car is healthy or not. It looks okay to me. Maybe just some overheated tires going on, which will be a bit of a struggle here, especially being under pressure from behind. Huge drama indeed, because, well, Zabda, he's made his life a lot more difficult now. He got the maximum points, he got P1 in race 1, was looking pretty good. Just to finish P2 in this race, he would have been automatically qualified. He didn't even necessarily have to go for the race win here. P2 would have been surefire away to get yourself qualified into the final round of the season. Now, it's not guaranteed. Of course, it's still very likely, but it's not as guaranteed as it would be if he just sort of parked the bus and finished in P2 or even P3. So this changes the complexion of things a little bit. Yes, he has the benefit of a lot of the front runners in the previous race not having a fantastic time. He's still ahead of Soren Jager. He's still ahead of Latovsky by a couple of positions. So it may not be as bad as it make it out to be, but still, it is a little disappointing to see unforced errors in such a situation. Still 4.5 minutes left to go in this race, though. Seems like things for Marius have to have stabilised out a bit. Just a bit of a scare and a couple of lost positions. 1 second between Gietz and Cernel. That still has an opportunity to close in by the time this race is done. The hard to Cernel push here, especially having seen Zabda make a meal of it and fall back through the order due to a problem incident. I assume it was just a solo car incident, because I don't think Gietz and Zabda were incredibly close together at that point. We've seen so many cars have solo incidents here. Very similar to actually what we saw at Aragon. A little bit of an interesting definition of track limits there from Lapanik, and Ruckus to be saw that and gave him the flash of the lights. Of course, stewards, if there's any penalties from incidents or track limit infringements and things like that, they will investigate things after the race and apply penalties as required in the form of time penalty. But nothing will be done in race for any incidents, as we see Lucas to be apply the pressure every which way on Lapanik, but Lapanik keeps himself ahead for now. Nappa's come down for the race lead a little bit, now 0.7 of a second when it was previously 1 second. So Cernel might be pushing on here to try and get that race win, but we've already seen how dangerous that is. Oh, door open slightly there from Jager, and he manages to get his nose in. Ruckus to be absolutely level here with Jager through the penultimate corner, and now coming up to the final corner. Still nothing to separate them. A little bit of trailing paint on the entry. Good line from Deby though, and good exit as well. Might not fully cover him off for turn number 1, but certainly goes a long way in terms of helping. Jager still has the overlap here down the pit straight. Try and get this pass done over the fellow Mercedes. A couple of cars behind, hungry for positions as well. Deby has defended that rather well though around the outside at turn 1. Holds on to that 9th place. Latovsky behind on a recovery drive as well is perhaps the primary concern at this point. We know how much faster he is in clear air, well, especially in clear air compared to these guys. Look at him all over the back of Jager. Still no way through for him though. Committing around the outside. Still no overlap for him to work with. Battle coming down for the race lead as well. There's contact for the race lead. Cernal sent it down and in. It was a defensive attempt from Giet, but Giet's punted from the race lead. We didn't see the full sequence of how that happened. We saw the back end of the incident. But Cernal with the absolute send from a couple of car lengths back. And it results in a change of a race lead once again. Giet falls down into 4th place here, with 37 seconds left remaining. Will we get the extra lap here? Will the race end here? I think we'll get one more. In fact, I know we'll get one more. That's not a way we want to see battles to the race lead end. Of course, we cannot pass judgment here. That's something for the stewards to do at the very end of the race, but 10 seconds left to go. Start of the final lap here, not only of this race, but of the evening at the Dubai Autodrome for the NGK Sparkplus Esports Cup. Unresolved battles. We got Dimitriv and Zabda fighting it out for P6. Zabda has taken a lot of our airtime here today, and there's a bit of contact between the two through the S's section. Zabda's going to lose out in terms of that one. There might be a battle for P2 on here at the final stages as well. Cernal is clear by about 1.1 seconds. Second step of the podium still has a question mark hanging over it. A flash of the lights there from Garise. Universal signal of discomfort from racing drivers. Down the back straight they come. I don't think Greece is really going to be close enough to go for the move down into the hairpin. Stays in line. Late on the brakes regardless, though. Brings him right up to the rear. But there is not a lot of opportunity to try and get yourself past yet after this point. Not impossible, of course. Allerton 12 through the slight left-hand kink at turn 13 before you hit the brakes into 40, which will be a last real opportunity, but even then it's really tough to get anything done through that. So after late race drama, it's Nico Cernal, the German driver of the Audi, that heads his way through the penultimate corner, through the final corner, and up across the line. It's Nico Cernal that wins race 2 here at the Dubai Autodrome in the NGK Sparkplus Esports Cup. Meeting number 3. It's Jonas Riedel with a podium finish, with Linus Garise in P3 as well. Gietz, well, early race leader, comes home in P4 after that incident with Nico Cernal. Sebastian Ree, P5. Dimitriv in P6 with Zabda, ends up finishing P7 here today with Lapanik in P8. Matovsky and Deby, 9th and 10th respectively. Yeah, here are your very unofficial race results, by the way. We'll have to wait and see if that race win actually stands for Cernal, but he is provisionally the race winner here in race 2. It's Jonas Riedel in P2 with Linus Garise in P3. Killian Gieders in P4 with Sebastian Ree P5. Dimitriv in P6 with Zabda P7. Lapanik P8, Latovsky P9, and Deby rounds out the top 10 positions. Then you've got Søren Jager, Enzo Filipao, Roland Sen, Daniel Parvan, Peter Daniel, and Lukas Schubeck rounding out the top 16 cars. Georgiev, Nagy, Krevi, Zena, Vertrick, and Hulok rounding out the 22 runners that were able to get to the checkered flag. And then you had 3 retirements, Catalad, Vollering, and Orban rounding out those positions there. So that's the racing all done here in the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. But of course, we have ourselves maybe the opportunity in just a couple of moments' time to be able to get ourselves interviews maybe with a couple of the drivers. Of course, we will we can actually do it right about now. We can actually have a little bit of a conversation with our winner from race 2. It's Nico Cernal, and I immediately have to ask you, Nico, What was your perspective of that final incident that you had in the race lead there?
Well, I think it's difficult to say because, yeah, for me it was okay. Yeah, but without Kilian, I had the chance to get into the corner. So yeah, for my opinion, it was okay. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But in terms of your opinion of how the racing has gone so far, or at least for this previous 2 races, do you think that you're confident that you'll be able to, one, get through to the final, and 2, that you'll be able to be competitive in that final?
Yeah, I hope so. It will be very hard, I think, in the final. But yeah, it's possible anyways. So yeah, I need to train a bit. So I hope I can get in front of all. But yeah, it's difficult, for sure.
Yeah, it's very, very, very difficult indeed. And speaking of difficult, it seemed like a couple of drivers had real difficulty in keeping their car pointed in the right direction today. We heard at Aragon that drivers were also having trouble with the corner exits there as well. It seemed to be the case here at Dubai as well. Just take us through, a driver's perspective of what the problems you face are with those self spins that we saw from a lot of drivers.
Yeah, for me it was okay this race. I think the last race it was a bit more difficult for me to get the car in position out of the corners. But there I saw that a lot of guys had problems with traction at the exit. Yeah, but yeah, today it was okay for me. But yeah, okay, I also was not the fastest today. So I think maybe if I trained a bit more, I could have the same problems.
Yeah, perhaps, but it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you, Nico. We'll have a look at what the series decisions are, and if you'll be able to get yourself through to the next stage of competition. But look forward to speaking to you at some point soon, Nico, and have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that was Nico Cernal there, winner from race number 2 here. We will just wait a couple of moments before we cut things off completely here. Wait to see if there's going to be any more drivers that want to have a couple of words here on the broadcasts. But it seems to be an appropriate time to shout out everyone that's been watching here today on the NGK channel, on the RaceRoom YouTube and Facebook, and of course on the Traction GG YouTube channel as well. Very fortunate to have you all watching this evening's proceedings, even though it's going to be very quickly heading its way to the end here in just a handful of moments' time. But yeah, I mean, we saw some very, very interesting racing indeed. We saw a lot of drama, actually, especially in terms of the race win at the very end there of race number 2, which will be decided in the stewards' room, no doubt. But unfortunately, we will not be able to get that decision in time to be able to discuss it on the broadcast with everyone here. We will get the opportunity, though, to have a little bit of a couple of words with Cody Nikola Lutovsky, who was our second place finisher in race number 1, and had to try and attempt a recovery drive in race 2 as well. Cody, you are muted, but can you unmute and do you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine.
There we go, Cody. So let's just have a little bit of chat about race 1, shall we? Because it seemed like you got yourself P2. However, you were closing in on Zabda at the very end of race number 1. Did you think that race win was possible?
Yeah, I would say so, Connery. I was really giving it everything I could to keep up with Marius. The Porsche was really, really strong out of the acceleration zone, so just trying to keep up was the difficult part. And then it's Dubai. There are plenty of overtaking opportunities, but he really did a good job of putting the car where he should have. So I think at the most I really could have gotten only second, so very happy with that, and great job to him as well for getting first.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed to be a very close run thing at the end of race number 1. And now race number 2, of course, due to finishing P2, you do start sort of back end of the top 10, P9 in race number 2. Just tell me about what happened there, especially on the race start when where there seemed to be quite a bit of chaos.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure myself. I think we had 4 to 5 guys that were trying to go for the same piece of road in turn 1, and I don't know who hit who or what happened where, but it just set off a chain reaction, and I lost my rear end. Someone nudged me from behind. Some people were spinning out, and it's a bit of a mystery, to be honest. I need to go and watch the replay to see exactly what happened. But yeah, it wasn't really the best start to race 2 for me.
You seem to be able to recover relatively well. Of course, it's still a question mark whether you have enough points to be able to qualify automatically inside the top 4. But are you still positive coming out of this race despite what happened, especially in race 2?
Of course. I mean, even if I don't make it out of this round, it's still a very valuable lesson, because sometimes accidents like these, they're not really accidents. It's probably because I put the car in the wrong place. So that's just another bit of advice that I can give to myself for the next race. And just keep learning, keep moving forward, and try new things. Obviously, I gave everything I could to get back into the top 10, and I did. But end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's what we love to hear, though. Continue to push on, continue to try and chase those race wins. But Cody, thank you very much for joining me on this broadcast, and hope to speak to you soon.
Likewise, Connery. Take care.
See ya. But yeah, that was Latovsky there, finishing P2 in race number 1, and had a lot of work to do in race 2. We will very, very quickly have a little chat with Linus Garise here, or Linus Garise. We'll have to see how it's actually pronounced. But Linus, it's well, just take me through your races here today, this evening.
Yeah, first of all, hello. Yes, it's Linus. It's correct.
There we go.
Yeah, both races were like pretty interesting for me. Like race 1, I had like no traction with the Porsche. It was complete new for me, anyways, with driving the Porsche because I never drove the car. So it was quite funny, also traction-wise. Lot of crashes around like my car behind me, in front of me. Was quite interesting, but I think if I finished 7th, I think, in race 1. And
yes.
race two, I finished 3rd. Quite happy with that result. Yeah, race 2 start was insane. We were like 5 wide. Was like both races were really fun, but especially race 2 was like a lot of fun to me.
I mean, yeah, podium finish. You can't really complain about that in race number 2. Of course, like I spoke to Latovsky, we still a bit of a question mark whether or not you have enough points to be top 4 in terms of just these 2 races to automatically qualify yourself. I mean, it still puts you in a very good position in terms of the best of the rest. I'm calling it, in terms of the rest of the drivers that have to get a top 16 points finish. But in terms of Hungaroring, in terms of the Nordschleife for the finale, how's the confidence going into those?
So yeah, Hungaroring will be like, yeah, I don't know, I can't not like say anything about that because like I drove the track once, I think. Nordschleife, anyways, if I qualify, I think I got a good chance to drive in the front of the field. Really like that track. Really drove like a lot of track. My start in sim racing was on Nordschleife. So yeah, big hopes.
Yep, lots of hopes indeed, and we hope that you're able to join us in the finale and you get a good finish there. So thank you very much, Linus, for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye.
That was Linus Garise there with a couple of very good points finishes here at the Dubai Autodrome. We will have to wait and see in terms of who gets themselves qualified into the finale and how the points order stacks up for everyone else, though, because there are stewards' decisions pending that haven't really that will actually affect the race results potentially by a significant amount. So you want to be paying attention to the RaceRoom social media on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, to be able to make sure you know about what the stewards' decisions are and how the points line up and who needs to do the race at the Hungaroring and who does not. But unfortunately, that is all that we're going to have time for here this evening on the NGK Sparkplugs Esports Cup. My name has been Conry Maddock, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time when we head to our last chance qualifier at the Hungaroring. Goodbye.